feet in the high, chasing the night, chasing the night. Hotel rooms and city squares, champagne bottles, drum and snare. The sights and cities seem to fall away when you stay. Locked in love for a night or two, losing sleep just to get off you. Day to day you wanna stay out, you're chasing the light, holding on for life, feeling the high, chasing the night, chasing the night, chasing the night.
We're living for the moment, now we're one with the world. I can't lose this feeling I get. My heart's in the right place, and so is my soul, yeah. I won't take no excuses for it. I want it, love it, need it, live it. I feel like something's missing when I do not have it. I feel it in my bones, gotta find my space. These emotions on my face, taking a toll, I gotta pay it forward. I'll give it all that I can. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. Yeah, no what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't, baby. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see. And if you believe, you live and you breathe, you'll find the key. Lifting me, lifting you. Can't go alone, let's do by two. Doing this together, it's me by you. All through the night, all through the night. This is me, this is you. When we get together, we can all pull through. I don't ever wanna stop this groove. Let's get it right. Take it to the Lord, then take it to the grave. Listen to the wise man, tell me what to say. Listen to your heartbeat like it still bleed. A little bit of hope, yeah, it's what we still need. Say a little prayer for the moment. Give what you got, just go in. Can't hold you back if you own it. Live your life like a chosen. No matter what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take no for an answer. If it don't hurt me, it makes me stronger. You know what, I won't let up. It's in my soul, it's in my blood, and I won't take it no more. I won't, baby. Just leave it to me. I know what I need. You'll find if you see.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 3 of the Monday GT4 Championship here at RCI. My name is Ryan Gill. I will be your lead host for this evening, and joining me in the commentary box is RCI's favourite South African. It's George Smith.
Well, I mean, I don't know that you can introduce me as your favorite South African. We're going to get more South Africans coming in, and I don't want them to have that unwanted bias. But yes, it's so good to be here, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. A very, very rainy afternoon at Zandvoort, and that is going to make for some interesting racing indeed.
Yeah, it is. The weather has well and truly arrived here. I mean, we've got some significant rainfall at the moment, just about 2.5 minutes of practice remaining. 26 degrees track temperature at the moment, and, well, there is no other way you could describe this track, but very wet.
Yeah, you know, right now it is all over the place, and these GT4 cars with that limited traction themselves are going to struggle, I think, in the rainy conditions. I feel like this is going to be a very interesting race indeed. We know how much they can use the curbs, but how much can they use slippery asphalt, or what are they, like more like concrete? They get very slippery in the wet, so I'm quite keen to say I haven't watched a GT4 car race in the rain, so for me it's something new to experience. We're looking at Michael Tauscher at the moment, who holds the top time in practice, 150.043. Not that that indicates too much, but you know, for now we lay eyes on his Cayman, as he seems to be giving himself a little bit of space to the car in front. He wants to go out and set just another pace lap for himself. Looking forward to seeing what the guys bring, though.
Yeah, we've seen a fair few, different levels of performance from these cars across the 2 races we've had so far this season. Of course, we started at Monza, in which the Mercedes and the BMW were so powerful around that circuit. Then at Paul Ricard, it was very much a different story. The Alpines had a lot more to say. The Ginettas were quite impressive compared to what I thought they would be. And, of course, the Mercedes and the BMWs were nowhere near as strong. And, of course, we come here to Zandvoort, a tight, twisty circuit, and, of course, we're in the wet. So, you know, it opens itself up to loads of other cars to put themselves up near the front of the field. But as you can see, George, 6 different manufacturers in the top 6 in practice.
Oh, Matt Samuel going to go and set himself up at the top as well. So we're going to see that Aston Martin go into a 149.9. So breaks the 150s. And, of course, the drift man himself will definitely know how to handle the back end of that Aston Martin coming out in the wet. So good to see him doing some good pace laps here in practice. The 996 green Aston Martin makes its way out. We've got about 18 seconds left of the actual practice session timing, and then of course it'll wait for the cars to finish their laps that they're on. Then we go over to our qualifying session for 15 minutes, and then we've got an hour of racing. So plenty of action still to come. Practice is just a little indicator of what the conditions are like for us. As you can see, pretty wet, 26 degrees on track, 21 degrees ambient.
Yeah, we're currently watching Alan Garland go around at the moment in the 101 Cayman. Lovely livery on that car, I have to say, by the way. I do love the light grey with black and kind of a bit of a pinkish red accent. Nice matte finish on that car as well. And, of course, going around in 9th place at the moment. Practice only tells half the story, or, well, sometimes not even half the story, and with qualifying coming up next, I'm going to be interested to see how far these guys can push into qualifying, because like you said, George, earlier on, you know, these cars can take a lot of curb, but how are they going to fare over, you know, curbs that realistically in a GT3 car you wouldn't even be going near?
They're quite raised, aren't they? Similar to the aggressive curvature that we find at Kyalami. So definitely a lot of curbing there. You see those anti-cuts on the inside of this big sweeping left hairpin. And yeah, when they start to push themselves, push each other, it's going to be interesting to see where the lines go. I mean, it really is a circuit that doesn't often too much in the forms of overtaking. A little bit like a Monaco of such of GT3 racing. It's very narrow, very tight, If you come off, you generally are going to find contact with a barrier. There's not a lot of place to stop the car as we switch over to our qualifying session. 15 minutes. The weather has not eased up, Ryan. The track has got colder, of course, as we've switched over. 19 degrees ambient, 21 degrees on circuit, and a heap of GT4s piling themselves out to begin their quali.
Yeah, and of course, qualifying is going to be, very, very important here because, like you said, George, this is kind of a bit similar to a Monaco-esque track, especially in GT3 racing. So qualifying is going to be important. These cars will be able to race a lot better around this circuit than the GT3s would, but I'll tell you what, in these kind of conditions, would you really be wanting to put on last send moves into some of these corners or dive bombs into turn one? I can tell you right now that from my experience in the wet recently in the GT3 cars, obviously GT4s are quite a bit different, but heavy rain like this, it's not the most favorable, it's not the most comfortable, and the last thing you want to do is have some unpredictability in front of you.
No, you do want that predictability for sure. You want to try and keep yourself out of trouble during the actual race. The qualifying session itself is going to be a handful in terms of getting yourself some track position, as Cormac Ryan Meenan, his BMW is not going to be unmissed out on circuit. That dashing pink M4 is going to be spotted from a mile away. And of course, he's got a little bit of space to some of the cars out on circuit behind him. Not a lot of space, but it's a little bit of space. And it's one of the things that you don't want is someone breathing down the back of you in quali. It's not something you can always avoid. But, if you can avoid it, then you can give yourself that space to do your thing out on track, then that's always going to be favorable.
Yeah, and of course we are watching Cormac Ryan Meenan here, the number 12 BMW at the moment. He's going to be the first car to go out on track and set a lap. So as he comes down into turn one, Tarzan Bot right here, this nice turn one. A lot of changes to this circuit in 2020 for Formula One coming, but of course we're still running on the 2019 version. Nice through turn two, and this is one of the most tricky corners on the circuit. Don't want to hit the inside curb, does very, very well here. And just trying to get that car turned around. The car very, very slow, of course, in the wet around here. Now, this part in a GT3 car would usually be completely flat out, no lifting here. But of course, in these kind of conditions, you want to be a bit careful. Cormac taking a bit of the grass there on the inside. He's going to try and commit to whatever line he can make out here. And of course, the wet line, very different to the dry line. He's up at the top of the circuit now, takes the curb on the inside there, not too afraid to ride the curbs at the moment. So these GT4s seem to be taking the curbs a lot better than, say, the GT3 cars around here would, but you could see how much the steering wheel is squirming around as he comes through turn 10, and now he's going to be on the run down towards... it's not quite a hairpin, but it is a very abrupt stop that you have here, 90-degree corner. And of course he does come down, then you have this very, very long left-hander. Wow, very, very aggressive over the curb. And then he's going to get it in nice and tightly, not going to hit the grass on the outside of the exit. Going to come into the penultimate corner now. This corner feels like it goes on for an age in a GT4 car compared to the GT3s. And he is going to get the car just about turned around. How wide is he going to go? Not too wide, nowhere near as wide as he would go in the dry. He'll come up towards the line to set the first time of the session. It'll be a 1:51, but that will be immediately beaten by Tinko van der Velde with a 1:50.4.
Good times coming down. We'll see Alexander Guglia jumping up as well, doing a 1:51.069. Marcus Lawrence tops things out with a 1:50.136. As they come round, Sundstrom goes up and does a 1:50.337, just 2/10 behind Lawrence for their first outlap. Everything going to be getting up to temperature and still trying to find a little bit of a dry line as these cars get themselves out on circuit. Those times could fall down. Chartier is going to get up there too, a 1:50.331. He's going to go just 1.9 behind. Macaulay is going to feature once again in that Ginetta, a 1:50.031 as he crosses over the line. And Matt Samuel will then top them all. It's like a game of shootout coming out right now. 1:49.0 149.959 for Matt Samuel. And then Martin Lawrence, he wants the party too. A 149.629 in the Camaro, goes top overall.
Yeah, so well and truly into the 49s. Martin Lawrence and the Camaro setting the pace after the first round of laps. I did see Valentin Barrier in the Alpine. He had quite a bad accident. He spun going through turn 3, and of course, that's forced him back into the pit lane. He's currently down in 17th. But we're looking at Billy Octane at the moment, 19th right now. Not great for Billy Octane on his first flying lap of the qualifying session, but of course, we know Billy Octane just as well as anyone else does. He won't settle for that. He's going to keep pushing for that perfectionist mentality. He wants to get faster and faster. And as someone who has raced him personally, I can attest to the fact that he does not give up. He will stay committed to everything. We see him come through the final corner right now, and he's going to come up towards the line. How much will he improve on his time? He currently sits 20th, and he's come up towards the line. Billy Octane will jump to 11th, 1.3 off the pace.
Just outside the top 10 as well, Krzysztof Makowski guards that down with a 150.619. So Makowski is going to hold Billy Octane back. Simon going to put himself in between as well. So Andreas Simon going to go 11th with a 150.802. As things stand, it still is Martin Lawrence up at the top with Matt Samuel coming in second so far. Macaulay holds down third. So a really good shootout. 8 minutes 30 remain. We currently look at Makowski switching over to Harry Conway in that dashing painted AMG, and of course quite a feature livery. It always is done by Harry Conway in this way. I actually managed to get hold of his Porsche liveries for my personal collection just because I liked the Miami's themed paint job that we saw at the 6 hour, of course, on Saturday, which was incredible. And Harry Conway currently sitting in 7th place. He is up on his lap time. And with 7 minutes left to go, let's see where he jumps up. He goes to 18th place currently. Final corner left to go. Down the start finish straight over the line. Where will Conway come out? And he goes over the line. He jumps himself up to 7th with a 150.337.
Yeah, very good lap there from Harry Conway, and he's put himself in a rather good position. And, I mean, look at the guy he's actually right behind as well, Mikael Sundstrom, who, of course, is one of the community moderators here at RCI, but also was teammate to Harry Conway and Billy Octane in the 6 hour as well. So just showing you there the pace that they have between them, not too far apart. And in fact, they have an identical lap time, but it was Sundstrom who set that lap first. So, of course, he will be ahead in the standings. But Sundstrom has now gone faster with just being just over half a second off the pace. I'm looking at Matt Samuel at the moment, though. The 996, he's 3/10 up on his lap. Actually, 4/10 up on his lap at the moment as well. That would be enough to put him provisional pole sitter with just under 7 minutes remaining. So he's going to come through the final corner now. The dark green and gold coloured Aston Martin of 996.
Best windscreen wipers.
Yeah, they are quite interesting, the Aston Martin windscreen wipers, aren't they? It's the only GT3 car that has them like that, is it?
I don't know.
Sorry.
It's something that I've only noticed. Like I said, I haven't watched too many interesting rain races in GT4 cars, but as Matt Samuel fails to go into pole position there, as Lawrence still holds it off, we do get to witness some of the windscreen wipers. So, I mean, we're known for talking about liveries and paint jobs. We get excited about those. Just add it to the list. Windscreen wipers, we're good on those too. The Ginetta with relatively regular windscreen wipers here, Ryan, as we watch Makowski pilot that tiny little GT4 around.
Yeah, it is. It is a cute little thing, isn't it? The Alpine, the number 11 at the moment of Makowski going around the track, struggling. Yeah, struggling a lot, the Alpine, it seems. And I did mention Valentin Barrier earlier on. He also had a bit of an off at that corner right there in the Alpine. So the Alpine not exactly doing well here. Maybe it's the wet conditions that don't suit the small French car. But as we see the likes of Guglia come over the line, he will improve on his position. Now we are looking at the likes of, who is this? It's Andreas Simon at the moment that we're looking at, the 162, and of course he's down in 16th place at the moment, and not exactly where I'd expect to see him.
No, well, I mean, isn't this Christian Buchel on screen at the moment?
Oh,
The,
actually,
number
it is.
32?
It
Yeah,
is.
I think they have similar liveries.
They do. They have the
It's
same
almost
livery.
identical. Yeah, they do. So Buchel here.
Apologies
actually,
there.
Well, he sits 19th, 4 tenths up, Ryan. So he's got a good chance of jumping himself pretty close to Simon here if he comes over the line. And maybe those misleading M4 liveries will mislead us even further. So he's going to go up. He's only going to go to 18th place. So improves his lap time, still 1.2 seconds off the leaders. But reasonably spaced out here. I mean, we see 1st to 13th separated by under a second. And then from 14th down, there's only a second between sort of them to 23rd, 24th place. So it's going to be an incredibly tight race here in the rain.
Yeah, it's looking to be that way at the moment. But if you look at the front row, though, Martin Lawrence and Matt Samuel, ahead of the pack in terms of qualifying pace. I mean, it's a good, quarter of a second between Matt Samuel and now Michael Tauscher, who's moved himself up into 3rd place. That puts Joe McCauley down to 4th. Of course, we're currently looking at Marcus Lawrence in the number 13, the PCDC Motorsports Mercedes. And of course, he is currently up on his lap by 4 tenths of a second, almost half a second, in fact. And that could put him pole position if he can find a bit more time around the last couple of corners. But he has started to lose a tiny bit of pace. He is down to 3 tenths of a second up at the moment. He'll come through the final corner, and he'll hope he can get a much better exit than what he did have on his previous fastest lap. He'll come up towards the line right now, and Marcus Lawrence will go second, in fact, 12 thousandths off pole.
Incredibly close lap times coming out here. Matt Samuel 500ths off of pole, and then Lawrence goes in and just goes absolutely insane in the membrane as well. So Tinko van der Velde, sorry, my incorrect pronunciation there. I completely read it and thought he was the South African representation. As soon as I hear Vander, it goes naturally to my home habitat. So 66 here, the number 66 in the black and gold Fanatic themed. I mean, it's really a podium themed car if you know the podium wheelbase, the Fanatic themed car here. 66. I do like those synchronous numbers as well. 13th place at the moment. Unlucky for some. Tinko hoping to improve his lap time. He is up a 10th at the moment, and he's got the last sector still to do. Of course, when you get into the very last corner, Ryan, that's really where you've got nothing left to make up. So it's all here. It's all the braking and where you can get out on your accelerator pedal to see if you can find that little bit more.
Yeah, it is. It's a tricky circuit to find your way around, and of course, especially in these kind of conditions, so easy to get caught out. Especially into some of these heavier braking zones. Tinko van der Velde at the moment is coming around the final corner. We're on board with him. He's 7 or almost 8 tenths off the pace right now in terms of qualifying. He will come up towards the line, and he will improve up to 9th place, 6 tenths off of pole position at the moment. And remember, this is the Mercedes that went out and won quite dominantly at Monza, George.
Absolutely. Samuel Ratz, also a name that you are familiar with seeing quite towards the front of the order, of course, in that KTM Crossbow. Another livery that stands out in the semi-dark and difficult to see conditions. Currently sitting in 18th place. Ratz normally up towards the front, like I mentioned, and he is up on his lap time. He's 8 tenths up from where he was, almost a second to his name. So where he wants to be, not quite where he needs to be, but this will certainly get him up the order. 46 seconds remain on that qualifying clock. He'll probably be able to do another lap out after this. He will indeed. All these cars we see in shot will be setting another lap before the end of quali. Samuel Ratz over the line up to 6th place, and 3 tenths off of Lawrence in that Camaro, that 171 with a 149.69. Samuel Ratz will get another shot at doing this. Looking at Matt Samuel here in that 996. Ryan, I'm a big fan of the paint coloring here. It feels traditionally British.
It does indeed, and it's rather fitting on an Aston Martin as well, a car that, of course, looks extremely good in these colours. But Matt Samuel, tell you what, 3/10 up on the lap as he comes out of the final corner. He'll come over the line at the moment. He will go provisional pole with a 1:49.314. Martin Lawrence has not found any more pace since he had set that provisional pole lap time. And Matt Samuel has now thrown the ball well and truly in the court of the Camaro driver.
I'm absolutely convinced, Ryan, that the extra 3/10 have been found in the windscreen wipers themselves. Macaulay here in the Ginetta, one lonely windscreen wiper. I'm going to continue just highlighting the windscreen wipers, Ryan, as to be honest.
It's a weight-saving strategy.
It's the Ginetta does not need any more disadvantages to its name, and I love the fact that Macaulay is out here in the grid of. He's the sole Ginetta representation, right? So he's got big things on his plate. He needs to deliver for the Ginetta fans, and he does just that. Every single qualifying we see him come back, he brings absolute fire. And Macaulay here is 4/10 up on his lap time, so this is going to jump him up the order if he can hold on to it. We do see Rats going and coming and setting a little sneaky time indeed, a 1:49.545. So that goes 2/10 off of Samuel, puts him up in second, drops Lawrence and Lawrence respectively down to third and fourth. And Joe Macaulay now round the final corner. He's lost all of the time that he had found. He's only up a 10th now as he runs very wide on the final corner. Yellow flags are out for cars slowed down on tracks. Macaulay jumps up to 6th place. And, the Ginetta well within the top 10. And that's good. Good to say we've got good representation across the field in terms of manufacturers. Ryan, if you want to run through some of those.
Yeah, of course, Aston Martin on pole with Matt Samuel. Then we've got Samuel Ratz, actually, with the KTM on the front row of the grid. The Camaro and the Mercedes on the second row. And, of course, the Alpine and the Ginetta, two of the smallest cars on the grid, on the third row. So really, really nice there to see the split of manufacturers. 6 different brands in the top 6. And, of course, if you stretch that to the top 8, you've got 7 different brands with Porsche there. Michael Tauscher being the highest of the Caymans.
It's going to be an exciting race for us indeed here. The conditions not going to change up. It's most likely going to be very much of the same for the drivers here today. And we can expect some excitement as we go over, get a nice aerial shot of our grid. It's always beautiful to see some of the paint work and the paint jobs that are being applied to the GT4s. I'm a big fan of Lawrence's number 171 Camaro. I find it quite dashing indeed. And that 256 BMW looks like something out of 2030.
Yeah, we always love to talk, liveries around here at RCI. In fact, I think it's just the combox in general, isn't it? We just, we do love to talk liveries. And something I've just noticed, Giardia in the chat here today. It's a shame we can't have you here today, Giardia. Said he's not doing too well today, so of course he won't be racing. It's a massive shame because Giardia does always bring, such explosive pace to these races. And in fact, I think it was the Porsche Cup race that we did at Laguna Seca, which I think will still probably go down as one of the best races I've ever seen. And, of course, only Giardia could have made that possible in my eyes. So it's a shame we don't have you here today, Giardia, but, of course, he is in the stream here to watch. And, of course, we are now on the starting grid. Still raining here at Zandvoort. The temperature has not changed. The rain has not changed. And the starting grid is as it was at the end of qualifying. Matt Samuel on pole with Samuel Ratz alongside him in the 808 KTM. Alongside them, well, just behind them actually, is Martin Lawrence and Marcus Lawrence on second row of the grid there in the Camaro and the Mercedes. Then we have Makowski in the Alpine, the highest representing of the small French car. And, of course, the lone Ginetta of Joe Macaulay on the third row of the grid as well. Chartier is the second highest of the Aston Martins and the highest of the Porsches. Michael Tauscher, very well known for driving a Porsche and very, very quick as well. Jan Matthias and Alan Garland are actually going to round out the top 10. Then we have Mikhail Sundstrom and the winner from Monza, Tinko van der Velde, all the way down in 12th. Guglia in 13th and Valentin Barrier in one of the other Alpines in 14th. Harry Conway and Andrzej Stedacek will be 15th and 16th on the grid. Andreas Simon in the 162 BMW finds himself 17th. Billy Octane, the 333 Triple R Camaro, down in 18th place. Cormac Ryan Meenan, 19th. Not where I expect to see the first of the Ryan Meenan brothers, but that will give you an insight to where the other one might be. Boardman, the highest representing McLaren, in 20th. Buchel in 21st. Killian Ryan Meenan in 22nd. A horrible qualifying for the 23 BMW. Borodai in 23rd. And in fact, the timing board has slightly just disappeared off screen for me at the moment. So I can actually say the rest of the grid... Sorry, you go ahead, George.
No, I was going to say it was a nice little rundown of the order, nice little flyby of the grid as well, to appreciate the beautiful paintwork that the drivers have applied to their vehicles, of course, giving themselves the standout identification on the racetrack. You know, it's easy for us to see. It's good for their fans to spot out. And of course, if you are, involved in a little incident, you can always tell the guy that you're a bright colored KTM on the front row of the grid. If you're Samuel Ratz, how did you not see me coming? We've got 2 minutes left to go before the start of this incredible race. In the rain, I cannot wait for things to get started. I know that all the drivers are going to be applying their best racecraft out here. It's GT4s, it's in the wet, it's at Zandvoort. Christoph Makowski, a beautiful little Alpine. I'm a fan of the paint job. It seems to be growing on me. I've thrown it a little bit of hate just because of how small it looks, but it's really starting to prove itself there. Jan Matthias, another KTM crossbow, definitely not a hot favorite in the community at the moment. An interesting pick indeed.
Yeah, of course, and with just over a minute remaining left on the clock until they pull away for the formation lap. Of course, George, I think it's about time that we play our favorite game pre-race.
Oh no,
which is well, it's my favorite game. It might not be yours. The alternative name to this is Who Will Jesse Lee Curse Tonight? But unfortunately, Jesse Lee is not in the box with us tonight, so no cursing will be done. But George, who is going to be your pick for the win here tonight at Zandvoort in the rain?
I would be an absolute madman not to pick a real-world drifter, as my history in sim racing dictates. I am a bit of a fan of the drifters, and Matt Samuel, that dashing green and gold Aston Martin, starting in first place. I know that you guys all think that I'm only picking him because he's the pole sitter, but in fact, massive fanboy of Matt Samuel. And the 996, glad to see it up at the front here. I think in the wet, this is where the likes of Matt Samuel might start to shine. So, Rai, what do you think?
Well, I am slightly biased because I've known Samuel Ratz, or I've seen him race, for quite a long time now. Of course, in previous races for another community we did commentary for, and of course here at RCI as well, he does tend to show up a lot of the time, and it's the first time actually that Samuel Ratz has really put himself in a position where he can compete for a win. So you know what? I love the KTM. It kind of, to me, just looks like a GT4 prototype in my kind of eyes, and it's so absolutely incredible, and I do love the car. So I'm going to put Samuel Ratz down for the win here tonight. We've both gone for the guys on the front row, but of course, do let us know at home who you guys are supporting in the chat as well. It's always very nice to see who everyone has come to support, and maybe if you don't have a favorite driver that you want to support yet, then well, maybe a race like this in the wet might convince you otherwise to start supporting someone, because these are the kind of races that make people heroes.
This is so true. It's make or break. Anything can happen. It's Zandvoort and it's raining. I mean, those two combinations themselves are sentences that I don't really say too often. It's not something that I get to witness too often. That beautiful 171 Camaro, of course, starting in third place from Lawrence. Single file, they make their way down on their formation lap. Of course, the GT4 cars don't start with any tire warmers anyway on the grid, so they start with incredibly cold tires to begin with. So getting the warmth into them is going to be important, getting those brakes up to temperature as well. T1 here at Zandvoort is a tight misleading corner because obviously it goes so wide down from the start, finish straight, and then immediately starts to tell you that you need to get into single file. It's almost like, how do I describe, like a little funnel. Everyone comes down, it funnels down, single file, and then you just have to put that pressure on, wait for someone to make a mistake. And I think in the wet, Ryan, that's not something that we're not going to get a shot of.
No, it's going to be tricky out there today. I mean, these are not really the kind of conditions that, anyone is particularly excited, should we say, to race in. I mean, some of these guys will be interested to see how the GT4s do in the wet, because I don't really think they'll have had much of a chance to race them in the wet. But of course, some of these guys will really have been hoping for a dry race here tonight. Matt Samuel really is getting a move on with this grid. They are going to start lining up in a 2x2 formation. But of course, this is going to be so interesting into turn one.
Rats and Samuel on the front line there, Ryan, are really needing to get themselves to the position where they decide who's going to go where. You don't want a situation where first and second dive into each other and open up the position for the guys behind them. So I'm going to hand over to you for the start.
So here we are for the start of the third round of the GT4 Championship here at Zandvoort. It's wet, it's raining, and of course it is go. We are green for the third race of the championship. Matt Samuel on pole gets a good start down onto turn one. Samuel Rats, the KTM, starting to suffer, but he will dive down onto the inside, take a bit of grass, slight contact between the KTM and the Aston Martin, but the KTM will take the lead. The Aston's struggling here of Matt Samuel against the likes of the Camaro and the Mercedes, but he will maintain second place, as actually goes slightly wide, as does the Camaro of Martin Lawrence. Marcus Lawrence will take third place from him, and now the Alpine is challenging the Camaro.
Yeah, Mikowski trying to get a run on the inside of that Camaro, and they will remain side by side. Brute force coming down though, as Lawrence gets ahead of Mikowski, who has to just settle in behind. And for now, it's been close, tight racing. Samuel Rats with an incredible start, the start that he needed. Matt Samuel getting forced to go quite wide, and at the same time, I think was also being pressured from behind. Almost lost the back end of his Aston, managed to get it back on track, but did sacrifice a little bit of time down the order. Joe McCauley doing quite well here to hold down sixth place, is battling against Mikowski, and as Tauscher having a look on the inside, perhaps down the next corner, but it is a wave of cars in the background. Chartier, Garland, Matcha, Van der Velde, Guglia, they're all in the chase here, down onto the back of Macaulay's Janetta. Side by side, it will be Tauscher and Chartier going into the sharp left-hander. Chartier now going to have the inside line behind Macaulay, but it will be Tauscher to come out on top of this, hold off that position to Kevin Chartier in that Aston Martin. Garland will settle in just behind them in that Porsche as well. Jan Matthias rounds out the top 10 on the end of the first lap here, and it will still be Tauscher fighting with Chartier. Chartier on the inside now, coming down the start-finish straight. The drive is there. Chartier will have the inside line as Michael Tauscher has to get late on the brakes and try and chase back, and the pressure from Garland is right on the back end of Tauscher's number 16 Porsche.
Chartier with a very good move there, coming out of the final corner down into turn one, made sure it was clean, made sure he had the room that he needed to be in, had the ideal line. But of course, the big moment of the race so far is the likes of Samuel Rats taking the lead of the race into turn one. He's got almost a 7/10 of a second gap at the moment over the likes of Matt Samuel, but there's a long way to go in this race yet. There was an incident I did see towards the back end of the grid, a couple of cars off, but no major calamities, so no restarts required here for the race. And Jan Matthias, in one of the other KTMs present here on the grid, has already been in to serve his mandatory pit stop.
The battles go down the order. If we jump back now, even to Joe McCauley, he still now has Chartier giving him that pressure. He's got by the likes of Tauscher, who now is wrapped up with Garland. Looking back from Macaulay's rear view cam, we can see Chartier getting later on the brakes. He has the hunt on in that Aston Martin, getting right up to the back end of the Ginetta. There's not a lot of aero advantage to gain in the GT4s. There's still a little hole being punched in the air, and Kevin Chartier wants to try and find his way past. Then he will get right onto the back of McCauley. You see Tauscher dropping back in that defense to Garland has left these two in their own little battle. You see everybody moving over to the right side of the track and getting some coolness into those tires. Maybe just making sure that they're going to get the full usage out of them for 56 minutes. McCauley still defends.
Yeah, we can actually see Alexander Borodai here going up the inside of the 48 of Ondrej Dedicek. He's moving himself up the field as well. But I tell you what, Kilian Ryan-Minen, one of the biggest movers of the opening few laps. He's up to 13th place. He was almost down in 20th after qualifying. So Kilian Ryan-Minen doing very, very well. He's even got past his brother Cormac, who you can see just at the back of this little train of BMWs. But if I look at the list at the moment, Googlia is the highest of the BMWs, in 9th at the moment. So a car that we saw do so well at Monza, and it looked like it could potentially dominate the championship, has suffered in the last 2 rounds here.
Borodai, he's having a little look-see here on Kilian Ryan-Minen. He's going to have a look back, but Kilian Ryan-Minen, possibly with the cutback now, will have the inside line to the right-hander. Side by side they go, and right now the squeeze coming down, good racing coming out. Ryan-Minen on the front end, late on the brakes coming out. Borodai is going to run very, very wide, and this is going to allow Ondrej Dedicek to go alongside Borodai. It's a bit of a BMW Cup race if you look from here, 13th to 20th, all BMWs in the pack. Down on the inside again, Borodai will squeeze Dedicek. Dedicek then has to jump back behind, and Kilian Ryan-Minen is, that's Cormac Ryan-Minen, is trying to get by the battle in front. His brother is creating a little bit of space here for him to try and get by, but I don't think that there's going to be an opportunity with the likes of Borodai and Dedicek, who are doing such a great job to fight at each other. And Roy, very wide goes, was that Dedicek going wide? It was Dedicek going wide.
Yeah, Dedicek going very, very wide, and that puts him under pressure from the likes of Cormac Ryan-Minen. We saw this from the BMWs at Paul Ricard as Cormac tries to go for the cutback through on the exit of turn 1, but he won't quite have the speed or the room to do so. We saw at Paul Ricard, the BMWs, they were struggling so much, and they were actually in a line very similar to this. I think it was from about 10th place all the way down to 17th. So similar scenes here at Zandvoort in the wet. The BMWs all grouped around the midfield part at the moment, so the car that we definitely assumed would dominate the season, very much on the back foot, and it'll be interesting to see how they develop over the course of the race. Sami Ratz does still lead the way at the moment, 0.8 of a second over the likes of Matt Samuel, but of course it is so much closer around the midfield pack at the moment, especially with the likes of Mikael Sundström, who is currently pressuring the top Cayman at the moment of Michael Tauscher.
Yeah, Michael Tauscher needs to keep Sundström at bay. They've also got Valentin Barrier just behind them down the road. So if they're not careful, he will start to enter into this equation. And Tauscher, very wide, goes over the runoff. And now we'll scrub some of that speed coming down. Will Sundström be able to utilize this to his advantage? I don't think it was quite at a part of the circuit that was going to lose Tauscher out too much time, as he almost gets to come through the end of that,
I don't mean to cut you off,
apex.
George, but the BMW battle going on at 13th place at the moment has just heated up. Kilian Ryan-Minen had an off. Cormac Ryan-Minen was trying to take advantage of some of the moments going on here, and it has all kind of petered out into the same position as they were. Killian went way too deep into the I think it was the 11th corner down on the circuit, and of course that opened him up to pressure from the likes of Borodai. Dedicek has picked up a 15-second time penalty for a first lap infringement. The live stewards here today to give out any penalties as necessary. So Ondrej Dedicek has been given a penalty. We'll update you on that as soon as we can regarding who he was involved in with an incident. But now the likes of Cormac Ryan Meenan is going to want to get past that BMW as soon as possible now that he knows it's carrying a post-race penalty.
Absolutely wants to get past. And of course, Killian Ryan Meenan, the featured 23 BMW, holding 13th place here, off against Alexander Borodai, and it is such a difficult place to be and defend. Borodai can read every single movement that pink BMW is making up in front. We jump on board as we see Killian Ryan Meenan running quite wide, now down into the left-hander. The inside apex being well defended by the number 23, but Borodai carrying some more speed, has to back off slightly so that he avoids running into the back of the BMW in front of him, but will then try and close things down again through that braking section. Over the curbs, the GT4s go, munching away. The number 98 tries again to put that pressure back onto Killian Ryan Meenan. He wants to put that pressure on. He wants to force the mistake. Side by side, Dedicek and Cormac will go. Cormac trying round the outside. The number 12 going to be on the very outside of the track. Dedicek has a better line coming through. Will Cormac be able to carry a little bit more speed, having sacrificed some going for the right line? He's trying to get away, but on the inside, he's going to have to go round the outside. Side by side, they will go down into the braking zone, but Cormac will not be in the greatest of positions here as Dedicek is easily able to defend. He goes quite deep, and Vust is now starting to put pressure on to Cormac here, which is going to then cost him trying to get past Dedicek with that time penalty.
Yeah, I would say we would update you at all. Actually, in fact, Joe McCauley in the lone Ginetta has actually had an off here, and we're going to get a replay. Ooh, way too aggressive on the curb. Narrowly missed the Aston Martin behind, and he's hit the wall, and that'll be, I think, a considerable amount of damage on the side of that car. He is going again, but I'm not entirely sure what kind of state that Ginetta will be in. He will have to come into the pit lane to repair some damage at some point, I would imagine. But as we jump back here to the battle of the action, well, battle of the race so far, Killian Ryan Meenan, and Borodai just hitting the back of the 23 BMW, gets out of shape slightly, but he backs off, and Killian does manage to maintain position and control of the car.
Good bit of driving there to just make sure that the BMW didn't rotate. Killian keeps himself in it. Borodai does back off, so the battle once again will go down on the next lap, it feels like, through here. Borodai doesn't look like he has the run. We're going to have to see if he can carry some of the speed down the start-finish straight. Maybe have a look down into T1, perhaps. He wants that number 23 to miss the braking point. He wants him to make a mistake. Killian is not giving up that inside line if he can avoid it. Then he will make his way over to the braking point for the track. Side by side, Vust and Vust, Dustin Vust and Steven Vust. Oh, no, sorry, that is Buchel with Dustin Vust going side by side, and it will be Vust going a little bit deep, a little bit wide into T1. Going to sacrifice those 2 car lengths or so in that line, and going to have to see if he can close down the gap to look for this position a little bit later in the lap.
I did try to get onto live penalty reports before, but of course the action just does not stop here at the moment, and just seeing there, Killian Ryan Meenan taking a bit too much curb as well, and that BMW not looking comfortable around here. Quick penalty report for you then. The number 48 car, Ondrej Dedicek, did receive a 15-second time penalty for taking out car 28, so that was Harry Conway's Mercedes that he had a collision with. And then car number 12, in fact, Cormac Ryan Meenan, which the 2 BMWs fighting each other, he's also received a penalty for taking out car 162. And as I have a look down the timing board, that is the one, well, that's the BMW of Andreas Simon, in fact. So the car directly behind him. So yeah, 15-second time penalty for Cormac there as well. So he's level at least with the likes of Dedicek for time penalties. But of course, the car that he had an accident with directly behind him now, both of those guys really do have to get a move on at the moment.
They do indeed, and Simon will know that both cars in front have that 15-second time penalty. But if they are impeding his time, he will want to get by them. Tauscher here being chased down by TX3's Valentin Barrier on the inside for the Alpine. He's going to have a look on the game in here, and it looks like he's going to rob one off Tauscher for free down into T1. The cutback not even there for the Cayman coming down. Beautiful bit of driving coming out from Barrier in the Alpine, and Tauscher will have to settle for being the gatekeeper of 10th.
Yeah, the Alpine doing very, very well here, it seems. They didn't do too bad at Paul Ricard, and they seem to have brought that pace over here in the wet to Zandvoort as well, both running in the top 10. Makaski, of course, as high as 5th at the moment, and he's got a 2-second gap to Martin Lawrence in front of him. So we look down the rest of the field, the highest McLaren, in fact, the only McLaren on the grid in 11th place at the moment, so doing a solid job there. Joe McCauley, by the way, after that off, he has been into the pit lane to serve his mandatory stop. I'm guessing he will serve some kind of repairs as well in the pit lane to make sure that that car is indeed fixed and driving straight, because there could be some steering damage. As we look now at Alexander Guglia, and he has the likes of Mikael Sundstrom with him, and judging by the way the timing board has just updated, I would believe that the number 18 BMW has just got past the Camaro.
Indeed, was in 8th place, was our front running BMW for some time there in 8th, and now moves himself up to 7th, and then we just have that BMW Cup down from 12th to 18th place on the timing sheet. So what would look like a mixture of manufacturers at the top, definitely not so much down towards the bottom. Sundstrom wants to try and get that position back, isn't quite in a position to make a move at this stage, but will settle down nonetheless. Dash of Lumo on this number 18 M4. The blue racing stripes, very dark blue, almost black, but blue racing stripes to match the back of it, looking very dashing indeed. And Mikael Sundstrom is not quite out of this just yet. That 899 Camaro is still in this and still very much putting that pressure onto Guglia here. Guglia needs to be careful of these slippery conditions, and pushing himself where he is not comfortable to do so could yield in that mistake coming through. Sundstrom getting a lot of curb on the inside of that apex, gonna slow himself down as he has to lift slightly down through the quick right-hander. A lot of curb being able to be taken, and the back ends of both the BMWs and the Camaro looking quite settled in through the down, slow, misleading right-hander and then into the tight, winding left-hander. It looks like we'll switch over to Ryan Meenan, and he is still not yet done, as he is going to go on the inside here of Borodai in that number 98. It looks like he's going to defend again, as Borodai is just giving so much hassle to this number 23, Ryan.
Yeah, Borodai wants to get past, and of course Kilian Ryan will be making that car as wide as possible to ensure that he doesn't let him pass. And of course, you know, I know what Kilian's like from experience. I mean, you know, if he doesn't want to let you pass, he will not let you pass. You are going to have to try and force your way through. And of course, Borodai doesn't really want to do that at this stage in the race. 43 minutes to go. We've seen some people have offs already today because of these conditions. The last thing he wants to do is potentially earn himself a penalty. Kilian Ryan will go defensive into turn 1. Doesn't look like he's going to give Borodai any chance of a cutback, but it actually does slightly open up for the 98 BMW, but Kilian has the pace to cover it off. And it seems that they will continue as is for now.
A little bit of a touch there from behind, it looked like, as well, coming down. but nothing too big indeed. Ryan Meenan and Borodai continue to fight. We'll switch over to Alexander Guglia, that number 18 BMW versus the 899 Camaro of Mikhail Sundstrom. They have definitely not let a gap be inserted between the two of them. And Mikhail Sundstrom doing well to hold on to this. Very deep from the number 18. Going to allow the Camaro to go side by side, but still will have the inside line. Will the BMW, but Mikhail Sundstrom's read this like a book up the inside. He will go, forcing the BMW of Guglia to go quite wide. And now a drag race down. The Camaro just a little bit ahead. Where will Guglia go? He wants the inside. He can't have it. He will have to settle. Brilliant bit of driving coming out from Mikhail Sundstrom there to see the opening from Guglia wide into the first right-hander, then very deep into the next left-hander. Mikhail Sundstrom did it so beautifully.
That Camaro running very, very well here at the moment of Mikhail Sundstrom. Of course, Martin Lawrence up in fourth, the highest of the Camaros so far. And, very, very wide. Sorry, just from Mikhail Sundstrom. I was watching that on my end there, but we're watching currently Michael Tauscher and Boardman. Some contact there going into the pit lane. And, of course, Michael Tauscher has hit the wall on the pit entrance. Was there contact between him and the McLaren, I wonder?
I mean, it looked like he won. It looked like he got touched in by the McLaren there. I mean, he was carrying too much speed for that to be wanting to go into the pits, right? And it looks like he will be forced to go into the pit lane there. And a bit of an unfortunate circumstance, but we'll switch back to Ryan Meenan's defense against Alexander Borodai in the number 98. BMW on BMW, M4s on track. These GT4s do look quite beautiful in the rain here at Zandvoort. I do like the lighting effects in ACC, of course. It looks spectacular. That number 23, the pink BMW, feeling the pressure. And of course, Ryan Meenan has been doing a great job to hold Borodai back. Borodai is not finding that chink in the armor that he needs. And for now, it still will remain Ryan Meenan in 11th, Alexander Borodai in 12th. Up at the front, Samuel Ratz leads still over Lawrence in 2nd and Matt Samuel in 3rd place there. So a little bit of a change-up. Lawrence taking a position of Samuel off screen. But the battle here still continues, Ryan.
Yeah, it does. And as we actually switch over to the battle of Matt Samuel here, and he's got, as you can see there now, Martin Lawrence starting to creep up right behind them. And of course, Makowski is looking interested as well in the Alpine of Marcus Lawrence. So he's going to try and see if he can track down the KTM of Samuel Ratz 2 seconds up the road. But the Aston Martin that looks so good in qualifying, very, very good performance from Matt Samuel, seems to be struggling in the race compared to the rest of the cars.
It really does seem to be struggling. The front end of that Aston Martin also looks to be quite soft and low compared to the GT4s behind him. And Matt Samuel not looking comfortable here at all at the moment. You do see the likes of Martin Lawrence getting closer and closer every apex they go around, and that's going to allow Makowski also to close down the gap. So Samuel here, Matt Samuel slowing down the running order to the cars behind him, allowing us to get a little bit more action on track, because that means that the cars behind will enter into what we see on screen. But yeah, Matt Samuel not looking as comfortable as he did look in quali. Maybe not preparing himself entirely for the race pace or the race stint side of tonight's thing.
Yeah, slight bit of damage actually, I think, on the front of Matt Samuel's car. Is it? Can I see a bit of damage on the front right of that car? I think I'm not entirely sure if I'm accurate or not, but I think there is a few scrapes.
It does look like something's happened to the front end there. Maybe had a curbing incident where he spun it out, hit the wall, and is still trying to assess for damage and potentially not wanting to go in for a repair and seeing if he can sort of just limp it around. But he is definitely bleeding lap times. His last lap time there, 151.033, which is almost 1.3 seconds off his best time in the race so far.
Someone who definitely does have damage on their car, because that is visible as the light of day, is Mikael Sundström. The back end of that car has definitely been shunted by the front end of someone else's car. And, of course, that'll be damaging his pace slightly, but of course, he is still well and truly in this fight with Guglia. Of course, you remember that Mikael Sundström did get a cutback on Guglia to get past him. Guglia did then pass him back off screen. And, of course, you know, this battle just keeps going on and on at the moment. It seems like these guys, you know, I'll always say it, it's easier to follow than it is to lead. And it just seems like one of those situations where every time one gets in front, the other then gets a pace advantage. And they just keep switching positions right now as Mikael Sundström very, very close to the back of the BMW. This was the corner where the overtake happened for Sundström. Is it going to happen again? It looks like it could potentially do it. Guglia getting a bit unstable coming out of turn 10. He's going to be wide. Is Sundström going to have the pace? The Camaro with that V8 not going to have the pace to beat the BMW to the corner, and Guglia will hold on for now.
Good work from Guglia to recover there. We did see him going quite deep, not wanting to make the same mistakes that had happened earlier, but Valentin Barrier eyes out what he sees in front. The opportunity is there for him to get by with the battle in front brewing up like this. So Sundström putting the pressure on to that number 18 of Guglia as we will go around to begin our 13th lap. Again, inside line from Sundström, cuts right across the track, gets in front of, gets in front of Guglia here. Valentin Barrier, he might also get by with the likes of Guglia. He not quite just there. Just a look how small that little Alpine looks. It's almost hidden behind the back of the BMW as they come through the tight sequence of corners to start out the lap. It's the number 18, though, that needs to try and catch back up to Sundström. Can't get himself caught up with trying to defend against Barrier here. Otherwise, Mikael Sundström will run off down the order.
Yeah, so Mikael Sundström finally, it seems, able to get past the BMW and stay ahead of the BMW. And in fact, we've actually just seen Kilian Raiminen pick up a 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So the BMW of Kilian Raiminen, who did so well, and actually just on my end quickly, I've just seen the likes of Valentin Barrier go into the back of Guglia, the number 18 BMW. The Alpine has gone past. You'll see it here on the replay coming down into the braking zone. Tap on the back. The BMW went flying off the corner. The Alpine carrying some weight to it as it hit the back of the BMW, and I get the feeling that Guglia is not going to be happy about that. The stewards will investigate any incidents that happen around the circuit, and I would not be too surprised if there may be a penalty coming Barrier's way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if he even picks up a drive-through coming down with that side. It doesn't look like he gave back the position after making the contact either. So he might find himself in a bit of trouble running down the order. Buchel, the number 32 here, being pressured by the number 98 of Borodai, who has Borodai run down the order here, sitting in 14th place, right?
He definitely has, because he's
dropped down.
Yeah, he was racing with the likes of Kilian Raiminen, who was ahead of Ondrej Dedicek. And of course, well, Borodai now, actually, Ondrej Dedicek has pitted, so of course that's why he's ahead of him now on the standings, but he was behind him. So yeah, Borodai has definitely had some kind of off whilst we haven't been watching, and that's of course caused him to lose places. Mikowski actually in the Alpine, he has pitted. He's in 11th place at the moment. So
no, that's an incredible place to actually be if you think about it.
Yeah.
For that little Alpine of Mikowski, he seems to have done that pit stop just right as that 32-minute mark just strikes up on the clock. Harry Conway in 15th place at the moment. He's got Jan Matthias in the 256 KTM putting pressure on from behind. He's got Billy Octane just in front of him for 14th place. 2 seconds up the road, almost 3 seconds up the road. Sorry, 2 seconds up the road. Billy Octane trying to get closer to Bichelle, but it is Mathias making big progress here on the likes of Conway. And up the inside, he's going to send it. The KTM goes very deep, though. Conway with the cutback and going to hold on to his position unless the KTM can come back on the inside, which he won't. Conway in the 28 AMG doing well to spot out that Mathias had gone a little bit too deep in the overtake, gave him the space, came back, cut back, and will hold on to his position.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing for Harry Conway is that Jan Mathias behind has already served his mandatory pit stop, so no matter how hard he defends, that KTM is going to get past him at some point in time. So unfortunately for Harry Conway, I see him losing more positions once he pits. Just to keep you updated on some of the stuff going around, Michael Tauscher, we saw that little bit of an incident with the McLaren. He did actually get a 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I wonder if that was assisted by the McLaren. We didn't entirely get to see a great perspective of that from the replay, but you know, we have to go on what we know, and we believe there was some contact there. So unfortunately, Tauscher pick up that 30-second stop-go penalty, and well,
were they going side by side there as well? Was that?
Yeah,
so
Mathias and Conway were going side by side. In fact, Mathias has got past Conway.
Yeah, like you said though, I think the pit strategy side, the fact that Mathias has already been into the pits, it's not worth Conway to risk defending up against that KTM all the time. Rather let him go on, and you can then fight on battles with track or cars on track that are on the same pit strategy there. So I think Conway possibly there just making a smarter decision to let the KTM go by. Will still want to hang on to the back of it, of course, and keep the track position as beneficial as he can. But yeah, I think maybe just letting him by just to make sure that he doesn't have that sort of additional pressure behind him unnecessarily.
Well, people, you know, people do often complain about it sometimes, don't they? You know, some of the purists in racing that think, well, you know, it's every position counts, you might as well fight for it. But the reality of the situation is, you know, if at the end of the race, you know, letting someone by so that you don't slow yourself down gains you an extra position, you'll see it as worth it come the end. So, you know, a lot of people don't like it. They think, oh, well, if you've pitted or you haven't pitted, you should still race them hard because it's the spirit of the sport. But, you know, unfortunately, well, modern racing has advanced now. And, of course, you know, you do have to think slightly differently. Conway may be moving out of the way a bit too slowly, in fact. I mean, I personally probably would have got out of the way a bit sooner from the likes of the KTM behind. But... you know, he's managed to let the KTM pass. The KTM is actually starting to pull a bit of a gap now, but we're looking at Christian Bichelle, and he has Billy Octane in behind him. The Camaros definitely showing themselves well here at the moment, up in 14th place at the moment for Billy Octane. And of course, Bichelle hasn't pitted yet, so he's going to be looking to gain a place here on track. And actually look at that, in fact, as well. Matt Samuel in 12th place after the pit stops. Look who's ahead of him. Makowski in the Alpine. The Alpine has jumped the Aston Martin in the pit lane.
Yep, we were thinking what will happen here as we see Bichelle going very wide. Contact coming in from Mathias. He's gone wide himself. He's then come into contact with Bichelle. We'll get a little replay here. We'll see how wide the BMW does go down into the braking zone for the right-hander. He runs wide. Mathias is wide. He's on the brakes. He's lost control too, and he's made contact, and that's going to allow Conway to then get back his position again. Of course, if he had let anyone by, he is definitely not going to let that stop him from continuing his race now. So again, he will find himself ahead of Mathias, who's been into the pits. Bichelle then settles down into 16th place there, and the biggest loser overall there is he was hit coming in. He had missed the braking point, but then got hit by the 256, and looking to possibly go into the pits now to make his mandatory stop. I think he is. A dangerous pit zone entry here, especially in the wet. Mathias wants to get by onto Conway, and he's looking everywhere. Look how much curb that KTM just took there. I mean, it almost looked like the car was flying, Ryan.
The KTM surfing the curbs around here at Zandvoort, and whilst we do watch this battle here with Matthias, trying to get back past the likes of Harry Conway, let me just update you on the likes of Mikael Sundström. He's actually gone past Chartier in the 819 Aston Martin, and I can tell you that Valentin Barrier is now looking to get past the likes of the 819 Aston Martin as well. And of course, that is going to be for 5th position. He's right on the back of the Aston Martin, but not going to quite have the pace. But Mikael Sundström in the 899 Camaro at the moment, absolutely flying. And of course, there is already a Camaro in the podium places at the moment with the likes of Martin Lawrence.
So Kevin Chartier here is under a lot of pressure from Valentin Barrier in that 72 Alpine. He's got himself a little bit of space at the moment. All these cars still have to go into the pits. It looks like perhaps Chartier are going to do that right now. Comes across the track. Good work from Valentin Barrier not to come into the back, as I don't think he expected him to be going into the pits. A lot of the cars pulling over to the right side of the track to obviously run it down to T1. Alexander Guglia holds down onto his position. We'll switch over to the battle that is never going to cease until the end of Zandvoort here today, and that is going to be Cormac Ryan Meenan with Andrzej Dedicek. Number 12 versus number 48, both in BMW M4s, both with penalties to their name. Both have been into the pits, and both currently fight for 18th and 19th place. Ryan, and to our cameraman Nick, who's doing brilliant camera work, could we get a couple of seconds with Samuel Ratz as well? I feel like I want to have a little chat about this cheeky, beaky KTM that has just been dominating here in the wet. I mean, he came up in qualifying from down the qualifying order with almost like 6 minutes to go. We started seeing him getting those times in. He took second place to start the race, and now he is just increasing his lead over the likes of Lawrence in second, almost 7 seconds ahead. Still needs to go into the pits, of course, but a brilliant bit of driving coming out. And I'll be honest, right from the get-go here, Ryan, I mean, you called Samuel Ratz from the start. We all know Samuel Ratz is an incredibly talented driver, but doing it out here in the KTM, that's not something that I had expected at all.
Yeah, the KTM doing very, very well here. I mean, well, the likes of Jan Matthias is down in 13th at the moment. He's the other KTM on the grid at the moment. And of course, he's already made his pit stop, so he'll be gaining more places as the race goes on as well. But this car, I mean, it is a weird little thing, isn't it? It almost looks like it doesn't belong here. You know, like I said before, it gives off that prototype kind of vibe. And I've actually seen this car at Donington Park when I went to the British GT Grand Finale. And it is so strange. When you see it in real life, you almost look at it and you think that's got to be like a test car or something that someone's running for the weekend. That can't be competing in the race. But it is competing in the race. And it does have some incredible pace. And there's some magnificent facts about this car. If you don't know anything about this car, do look it up, because it's an absolutely incredible car. But Samuel Ratz, well, like you said, George, he's well known around these parts. Racing Line Motorsport, another very, very well known team, especially in ACC. And of course, you know, him competing up at the front here just contributes to the very brief but incredibly successful history that the Racing Line Motorsport team have so far in ACC.
Yeah, so a little bit of time for him to shine indeed, needed to do so. He's dominated the front of the order. We've had our hands full of battles down the pack, and of course, Zandvoort in the rain was always going to lead up to this point. Dedicek on the backs of Ryan Meenan, and this time around a lot closer into the interesting sides. And look at that in the background, Ryan. We see Joe McCauley, the man who threw his Ginetta into the wall and had to go and put it into the pits. He's now got into the action here, and if he finishes where he is now, he will beat both these drivers in front of him, just on the fact that he has no pits or no penalty to his name. So the little Ginetta wants to try and get by on the BMWs, who have matched themselves lap for lap over the last 20 laps. So the Ginetta of Macaulay trying to see if he can sneak his way by.
Yeah, the only issue is with a track like this, you know, such a tight and twisty circuit, it's often the cars that, you know, have a bit more muscle and a bit more strength to them that can kind of outmuscle other cars in the corners. They're the cars that will really make up places here. The Ginetta doesn't really have that. But having said that, that's not going to stop Joe Macaulay from attempting, and Dedicek will run wide. He'll go deep. And of course, he will take, Joe Macaulay will take the position, and in fact, he'll be right on the back of Cormac Ryan Meenan as well. So he's going to try and take 2 for 1 in the next sequence of corners. The BMW should be quicker in a straight line, but look at the grip that Ginetta seems to have going through the corners compared to the BMW. Cormac Ryan Meenan going for one of the alternative lines.
I was looking absolutely planted coming through that fast right-hander coming down, and Cormac really has had to defend, right? He's had Dedicek pressuring him like this before, so he's not going to be unused to feeling that kind of pressure. Macaulay has to make sure he does this safely. He does not want to run into the likes of the number 12 and pick himself up a penalty or something like that, especially when he's had such a clean slate so far. And all he needs is the drive that he's currently getting, but he cannot get past that M4. The little Ginetta feels like the M4 is running a Liberty Walk body kit with the width that it sits on track. There's just absolutely nowhere to go. Macaulay on an alternate line, round the outside, going to try and cut back onto the apex. Look at him gripping it up. He's going to have to catch the slide coming down. He's going to lose a couple of tenths before coming back into that right-hander where you can take some of the curb, but just look how slippery it is out on track. It looks planted from the outside view. You jump into the cockpit, and it's a completely different story being told.
Yeah, Joe Macaulay trying his hardest right now to get past the likes of Cormac Ryan Meenan, and of course that car being so much smaller than the BMW, it can fit into some of the smaller gaps that other cars maybe wouldn't be able to put themselves in. Of course, the BMW does seem to have the pace down on the straights. Joe Macaulay will have a look on the inside, but nowhere going at the moment. Cormac Ryan Meenan not making the same mistake that Dedicek did, but Dedicek is right there. Do not ignore him. He did make the mistake, but he's regained the time on the likes of Cormac Ryan Meenan and Joe Macaulay. Joe Macaulay, getting really, really close to the back of the number 12 BMW. Won't quite have the pace to go for a move, and as they come onto the start-finish straight now, Joe Macaulay will be thinking defensively here, as Ondrej Dedicek in the number 48 is going to have to be forced onto the outside line. But look how late the Ginetta brakes, and he's actually come into contact with Cormac Ryan Meenan, and that will allow Ondrej Dedicek to have a good run out of the first corner. He'll go side by side with Cormac Ryan Meenan. Are they going to touch? He touches the inside of the curb. There's contact between them. And now Joe Macaulay so close on the back.
They will be sent off onto the brakes. The pink BMW is back on track. Somehow, they're all side by side. Still, Macaulay is being bully-ganged out of this little bit of BMW action in front. Some curb coming out from Cormac again. Macaulay potentially wanting to benefit off that coming out. But a little bit rough coming down. Zandvoort doesn't allow you to go through T3 side by side like that in the curbing, just forcing Cormac wide. Dedicek comes out ahead there of Cormac Ryan Meenan, and Joe Macaulay is still hunting back that pink BMW. Nothing has changed. Dedicek running very deep into the right-hander. Will he open up the door on the inside? He's late again. He's lost out here before, and it looks like Cormac going to try and get through that door that's been left open. Down the inside, Cormac will go, but I don't think he's quite got ahead. Dedicek wants to come back across. Macaulay with a big look in the inside. He might make a move here on Cormac. He might make a move on both of them, in fact. Macaulay trying round the outside in the Ginetta, being squeezed down here by Dedicek. Good bit of driving from Dedicek to make some space and room, but Macaulay in the Ginetta now, lighting things up. He goes wide. Dedicek can have a look again side by side. They will go. They will exit down the start-finish straight. Macaulay just inches ahead of Dedicek. They will drag it out once more.
If this kind of racing doesn't get you to love GT4 cars, I don't know what will. Joe Macaulay will go late into turn one, and he'll try and preserve this position. He fought tooth and nail for this at the moment, and he will finally get ahead of the BMW. This battle that seems to have gone on for 3 or 4 laps, I don't know how they didn't take each other out. Amongst all the kerfuffle that happened on the previous lap, they've somehow kept it clean. They've somehow kept it together. And Joe McCauley comes out on top, the little Ginetta that could, against the big M4s, and he has made up the places. He's up into 17th. A lot of time lost, but I tell you what, I bet they all enjoyed that.
I mean, when we say it back in a recap, we just think that's the battle for 17th place. I mean, absolutely incredible stuff coming out from this number 19 Ginetta. Played the patience game behind the pink number 48 BMW, then had the pressure from Dedicek. The coming together in the previous lap there allowed some space to open up, but the Ginetta was behind after all of that, and then still remained patient and found his way through, and is now making waves on that BMW of Dedicek. 1.4 seconds up the road from him, and what a battle coming out from the 3 drivers that we just saw over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, small penalty report for you whilst we're here. We have a little bit of a breather that we can actually talk about some penalties. The number 32 car, we saw, it's actually Christian Bichel in the BMW. He actually had contact with the 108 car, and as I look down the list, that's William Stevenson, and I think that car has retired from the race, unfortunately, but Bichel has received a 5-second penalty for contact there. The number 72 Alpine of Barrier, we did see a replay of the contact between himself and Guglia in the 18 BMW. He's received a 5-second penalty as well.
Thanks for the penalty update, Ryan. And of course, Zandvoort, not an easy track for these guys to make the insane racing that we've been able to see. The fact that they're in the GT4s, we get another look at our leader, Samuel Ratz, in that 808. He leads over Marcus Lawrence in the 171 Camaro, and then Martin Lawrence in the 171, and then it's Mikael Sundstrom in 3rd place as the running order in our top 3 for the podium positions. Samuel Ratz really getting a move on. He's now 18.6 seconds to Lawrence behind. And I believe that obviously he's still got that pit stop to make. You can see it next to his name. He's still got the mandatory stop. But as does Lawrence, as does Sundstrom, and as does Guglia. Mikowski with the biggest undercut of all time, though. That Alpine sitting in 4th place at the moment has been in to serve his pit stop and doing absolute incredible work. So don't be surprised if you see some shifts from the number 11 Alpine.
Yeah, someone else who is making places, though, Jan Matthias. He pitted on the first lap of the race. He's currently sitting 11th. He's catching Chartier in 10th, actually. And he could make it a second KTM in the top 10. We're looking at Matt Samuel at the moment. He's got the likes of Valentin Barrier right behind him. Valentin Barrier carrying that 5-second penalty that, of course, he did pick up when he went into the back of the number 18 of Guglia and did not give back the position. So, of course, that has obviously skewed the battle between them a bit. And, of course, if Barrier were to get past Samuel, we would have to pull 5 seconds. But it looks like Matt Samuel is going to be gapping the Alpine. You can see in the background there the battle between the KTM of Matthias and Chartier. And Matthias is actually going to be on the inside of the Aston Martin. He's going to try and cut back and defend. Won't exactly have the time or the room to do so. The Aston Martin maintaining itself on the inside of turn 10. They'll come down to turn 11 now. The KTM will have the inside line. Jan Matthias trying to take this position off the Aston Martin for good now, but the Aston Martin's so planted in the corners, and he is going to take the position back from the KTM, and Jan Matthias has it all to do again.
It's one of those corners where the inside line isn't the line you want really coming into that almost 90-degree right-hander. You want that left side. The GT4 is obviously lucky enough to be able to cut a lot of that curbing when they come into the right-hander. But you just saw how much more speed Kevin Chartier took through in that 819 Aston Martin, and now has a lot of breathing room to Matthias in the KTM behind. 12 minutes remain of this race. I can't believe the hour of racing is almost done. It has absolutely flown by, and we've had incredible racing out on track. Not really the race out in front that we might have wanted to see, but for Samuel Raps fans, they've definitely liked to see their man out at the front. Not something we've been able to follow too much on screen because we've had incredible race action like this, the battle for essentially 10th place that Kevin Chartier holds off. And Jan Mathias has not given us any sort of racecraft to scoff at just yet. He's been in the action too. Kevin Chartier needs to defend hard for the next 12 minutes or that place will be taken off of his hands without a doubt from Mathias, who has been looking to scoop up positions in that KTM.
Yeah, Jan Mathias, of course, still looking to work his way into the top 10, and Chartier will be doing his absolute best to make sure that that does not happen. Of course, both of these guys within that 5-second gap of Valentin Barrier, so they would both theoretically be in the top 10 come the end of the race. But of course, you know, you tell a racing driver, what does theoretical positions mean? They want to see physical positions, and we can see Matt Samuel going off the track. And that's going to allow Valentin Barrier through. That's going to slow down the Aston Martin significantly. It's going to allow Chartier and Mathias to catch up to him. And, well, when it's not your day, it's not your day. The pole sitter down to 8th at the moment, as we can see Mathias and Chartier going side by side through the last corner. Slight bit of contact there, but nothing too significant. And Mathias will be up into 10th place ahead of Chartier.
I mean, an interesting point being pointed out by Jardier in our chats. Of course, he wasn't able to race with us, but he's just pointing out that the KTM not doing too bad on the tires. And if you are looking at cars on track, it certainly looks a lot more planted, certainly a lot more planted than the Aston Martins are looking. I mean, you can just see how those back ends are coming out every single corner now. We saw Samuel struggling to get the car slowed down, but that KTM is just munching through 10s up in front here. That 256 KTM is charging through the order.
It is, and of course now he has the Aston Martin of Matt Samuel in his sights, and he'll know that Matt Samuel is struggling. I mean, pole position for this car, remember, in 8th place at the moment, and I mean, obviously he was your pick for the win, George, and, you know, he wasn't a bad pick at all by any means, and Matt Samuels is definitely a fast driver, and of course, you know, well known around ACC now, started getting into a lot of racing, and, you know, he wasn't an out-there pick, he wasn't an underdog kind of driver to have for this race, and it's just been a shame to see him drop back through the field like this.
Indeed, it has been. I did say that, you know, it was a bit of a fanboy pick coming out. It was incredible to see where he was on track. We're going to see Dedicek being pressured here by Andreas Simon, the 162 BMW, the red, gold, and black, pressuring the Lumo yellow and black number 48. And it's an inside move coming out from the 152. Dedicek does seem to struggle through this portion of the track. He either goes deep through that first portion or this second left-hander catches him off guard. And Andreas Simon has done well here to get by and put a couple of car lengths between them. It's going to be Mathias, though, again on screen. Just look how much he is pressuring Matt Samuel here in that Aston Martin. He's struggling so much, Samuel, in that 996. And, oh, it's going to be Mathias catching a lot of the curb. Oh, big work to catch the slide out, and makes it look like it was absolutely planned. That could have gone all so wrong. Keeps it out of the wall. And Jan Mathias lives to fight another day.
In fact,
has he... What?
Yeah, he's slowing down. There's damage on that car, it seems. And
did he hit the wall?
I don't think he did. I mean, not from my perspective. From my perspective, the helicam.
Nick, do you have a replay for us of Jan Mathias here? I mean, he's just come to a grinding halt. 8 minutes left to go into the race. So Mathias here, we're not quite sure what's gone on. He's had to pull over on the side of the road. Did he run out of fuel with 7 minutes to go? Is that why he was so quick? Was he under-fueled?
I mean, you usually wouldn't be taking any more than a liter of fuel anyway in a race like this. Realistically, you'd be full to the end of the race. And from the two previous races that I've seen, as far as I'm aware, the KTM doesn't, seem to struggle with fuel, and especially in the wet, you use less fuel anyway. So, I wouldn't have expected that to have been a problem. But the likes of I mean, yes, the likes of Jan Matthias, yeah, very, very strange. Definitely damage on the side of that car, for sure. I don't think he hit the wall, but, oh, such an unfortunate retirement for Matthias as well. He was flying. He was on for a great finish here, which would have definitely helped him in the championship as well. And Matt Samuel, well, whew, sigh of relief for him, because that means that he has managed to maintain his 7th place at the moment, theoretical 6th after Barrier's penalty. But of course, he does have to keep within that 5-second gap.
I mean, 6 minutes to go. Christoph Mikowski in his Alpine is he's come out in 2nd place after that early pit stop that we mentioned earlier, Ryan. So great bit of work coming out here from the number 11 Alpine. He's still got a way up the road to Rats, but Rats still needs to go in to serve his pit stop. So Samuel Rats now going into the pits off screen. This might allow Mikowski to get even closer. Mikowski potentially going to be able to take the lead off of Samuel Rats, who has gone into the pits. We are watching the battle of Garland and Guglia on screen at the moment, but I'm just keeping a track of where Samuel Rats is in the pits in relation to Christoph Mikowski. So Rats coming out of the pits now, Mikowski down at the start-finish straight. Samuel Rats will get out of the pits off on the limiter, as we see Christoph Mikowski coming down into the braking zone of T1. So Rats will get out just ahead of Mikowski, but this has definitely opened up the potential for some excitement in the last 5 minutes. If something goes wrong for Rats out front, then Mikowski is going to be there. And what a great early pit strategy coming out from the Alpine, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. We've always said that, in situations like these, we usually like to see the cars going later into their stint to, of course, be able to make up more ground. What's benefited Mikowski is that he hasn't really had any traffic, and any traffic he has had, he's dispatched immediately. He's just been scything his way through the field of cars that, haven't, made their pit stops. He hasn't wasted any time whatsoever, and of course, master strategy at the moment, 3.8 seconds between the two of them. That's what he's got to make up. Just under 5 minutes remaining. I don't realistically see it being possible without Samuel Rats making some mistakes. But nevertheless, 2nd place for the Alpine would be a magnificent result. And speaking of good results as well, look at the Camaros, 3rd, 5th, and 9th at the moment.
Some Camaros representing Macaulay in his Ginetta, having done big things too. He was, of course, off and out what seemed like he had spun his Ginetta, smashed it into the barrier, had to go in for some repairs, did that in his mandatory stop, has made his way up to 11th and is on the back end of the Monza winner. Was it Monza winner, Tinko van der Velde? It was, right? The number 66.
It was indeed.
Yeah, so he's now on the back of our Monza winner and potentially going to get himself up into the top 10 with 4 minutes to go. So big driving coming out from Macaulay in the number 19 Ginetta, and potentially this is the door being opened up. He's got the inside line here. The 66 going to be very deep, and this is Macaulay's chance. Van der Velde deep and wide has opened it up, and once again the Ginetta sails on by up into the top 10 with 3 minutes left to go of race time. Good bit of driving.
Yeah, definitely so. And Joe Macaulay trying to make the best of a poor race for him. But of course, up into the top 10, he will see that as a good recovery considering what's happened. You just wonder where that car could have been today had he not put it in the wall and wasted time. But of course, we are now into the last few minutes of the race. Samuel Rats has done a magnificent job. You cannot undermine the job that this guy has done. He is such a favorite around RCI and so many other communities as well. A very well-known name within ACC, and of course driving for one of the most well-known teams in ACC as well. And of course, not driving in the traditional racing line motorsport colors, but definitely carrying the pace and spirit of those cars.
Number 808's had a great race so far. We've still got some on-track battles, and this is within the top 10. Alexander Guglia, the number 18 BMW from Mozart Motorsports, holding off the likes of the 101 of Alan Garland from the Street Weapon Porsche team. And of course, this is for the points. It all counts at the end of the day. And Garland here would love to get past on Guglia. He's got the pressure in the right place. He just needs Guglia to crack if need be. Late on the brakes from the Cayman. Going to try and force his way down and try and see if he can squeeze onto the inside line if a late braking mistake is made from the 18. Good run out from both cars. It's not going to be here that Garland can go alongside. But of course, the braking zones here, where's the Porsche going to go? He's going to settle in behind the BMW. And Alan Garland just holding off mistakes from the number 18, but not enough space for the 101 Porsche to get by. That's going to be a saving grace for Guglia indeed.
Yeah, but Guglia is feeling the pressure, and of course, you know, Garland is going to know that, and that's going to inspire him with confidence as well. He knows what part of the track the BMW is struggling on. And in fact, you know, speaking of struggling BMWs, look at where they find themselves across the field. 8th, 13th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. The BMW Cup still very much in effect towards the back end of the field. But yeah, these BMW cars, it's such a strange scenario that we saw these cars coming into Monza, coming into the championship. We thought they were going to be the car to beat alongside the Mercedes, and they just haven't been that for the, well, Paul Ricard and the likes of Zandvoort here today. And, you know, going forward into the future, I mean, you know, what tracks are we expecting the BMW to finally show up and pull their weight again, George?
No, for sure. It's all a learning experience to us now, and it's interesting to see. I'm not sad that things have been shaken up. Samuel Ratz, our leader, will begin his final lap here in just a couple of seconds, and we get confirmation that Ratz will go on. Billy Octane still has Simon putting all the pressure on him. The BMW again featuring here. This is the leader of that little BMW Cup from 15th to 19th, from Simon to Buchel. Billy Octane in the 333 RR Camaro, trying to hold on to the points here. Doesn't have any penalties to his name that are going to affect the timing sheet. So Samuel Ratz is going to lead things away. And Billy Octane here still going to hold off on the likes of Simon.
Jan Matthias in the YouTube chat just informing us that he's had a wheel failure, George. That is why he was forced to pull over on the side of the track. And that is massive, massive shame of all the things to, you know, that you could have wrong. I mean, we saw it in the 6 hour of Barcelona. It was the likes of Jason Webb that had a wheel failure as well, and that forced the ATK car to pull over on the side of the track and park it. And it's never something that, you know, we like to see. You know, stuff like hardware failures and issues and that are never nice. And of course, you know, it goes along with the task of fixing them. But we're looking here at Billy Octane defending from Andreas Simon. Camaro versus BMW. And Billy Octane didn't start very high up the field, but he's definitely worked his way into the mid-pack. Can he defend now? Coming into turn 2. And actually, the BMW is going to have the inside, but he's going to turn the Camaro around. And that, Andreas Simon stops on the side. He knows he's at fault for that. Billy Octane will try and get it turned around. Andreas Simon, very respectful to stay there and make sure that he didn't take the place from Billy Octane like that. But unfortunately for Billy Octane, no place is lost. Is the positive side for him, but I don't think he'll appreciate that too much. Samuel Ratz crosses the line in first, by the way, and Krzysztof Makowski will come home in second. Martin Lawrence will round out the podium as we will continue to watch this battle. Actually, we'll switch over to the likes of Christian Buchel in 19th place. He is going side by side with Steven Wurst, and there's actually been a bit of contact there between the two BMWs. On the final lap, people pushing like mad to take positions at the moment. And as we go back to the battle of Billy Octane and Andreas Simon, Billy Octane looks to potentially have it done. Andreas Simon has backed off a bit, maybe a sign of respect to say, look, it's my bad, I probably don't deserve it. But he is going to close back up onto the Camaro, but I think Billy Octane has got this done. And in fact,
I don't think he's going to take a position off there. He caused the off. He's going to settle back and accept his position coming out. We do get a beautiful shot of Samuel Ratz going for the big drift as we switched over to a little shot of our leader. And we will just go back to check in on Billy Octane, make sure that Simon has not passed him. But like I said, I think he will just settle back in. He knows he came in for contact. He waited to give the position back. If he intended to overtake him on the last lap again, he would have just continued to drive. So Octane will cross 14th, Simon in 15th. Zedacek goes over the line in 16th. Wurst and Bichel, it looks like Wurst going to come out on top. Steven Wurst, the number 99, will cross the line in 18th place. Cormac Ryan Meenan takes 17th. But with those penalties applied, Steven Wurst jumps himself up to 16th place overall. And what a great race coming out. Samuel Ratz takes it. Mikowski second, Lawrence third, Sandstrom fourth, Samuel fifth, Barrier sixth, Chartier seventh, Guglia eighth, McCauley ninth, Garland 10th, Vandervelde 11th, 12th for Boardman, 13th for Borodai, 14th for Octane, 15th for Simon.
Well, I tell you what, every single race of the GT4 Championship has been super exciting. It's had action all across the race. And of course, a wet race here at Zandvoort has not disappointed. So, if you are wondering to yourself, well, what else can I watch around RCI this week? If you don't have much to do within the week, well, I can tell you that the next piece of streaming content we will have will actually be on Thursday with the Multi-Class Championship. Then we'll be heading to Kyalami for that one. And of course, we'll be at Kyalami for the Friday Championship as well. The Silvers and the Rookies will be on display for that one as well. So 2 Kyalami races to come Thursday and Friday. And of course, you can find both of those here on RCI TV on YouTube as Martin Lawrence putting on a display for us coming into the pit lane. And you can actually see the rookie split for the Friday Championship all the way on the RCI Racing Twitch channel if you're interested in seeing the rookies. And I'll be casting that with the likes of George Smith and Thomas Crabb. As for what else we do have coming up, we should have the Maserati Cup coming fairly soon at the Nürburgring. And that's going to be absolutely incredible to watch. The GT4 variant of a Porsche Cup pretty much is what I'm going to be calling it. And it's going to be super exciting to see those cars. So do definitely stick around. And of course, we will be back next week for the 4th round of the GT4 Championship, and we will be at Spa. So that is definitely going to be interesting. I am looking forward to Eau Rouge and Radeon in these cars. Having said that, my name has been Ryan Gill. I've been joined by George Smith in the commentary box. Massive thank you to Nick Setnick, who has been the man behind the cameras here today. And he's done an absolutely fantastic job bringing you all the POVs that we have had the pleasure of watching. We will be signing off for the evening. We hope you've all enjoyed the race. Subscribe and like if you think we deserve it. And of course, enjoy the rest of your evening.